Ever felt like you're stuck in a life that doesn't feel like yours? No matter how hard you try, something always seems to be missing, and the same limitations keep showing up. Well, that doesn't have to be your reality. In a powerful, life-changing talk, Sadhguru revealed a secret that could change everything. He questions what everyone accepts as the truth and suggests a radical new way of looking at life, an approach that challenges the idea that happiness comes from collecting things or fulfilling desires. What if, instead of what you add, the path to living fully is actually about what you let go of? Stay tuned in the video and find out how to break free from the invisible chains holding you back and finally live a true, limitless life. Human nature goes beyond just basic needs. There's an innate thirst for something boundless. From a young age, we all carry this urge to expand, to go beyond what seems possible. While animals are satisfied with just surviving, humans aim to transcend their own limits, constantly wanting more, whether it's knowledge, experience, or personal achievement. It's like there's an inner spark, a force that drives us toward discovery and innovation. A clear example of this is how many people keep seeking new challenges even after they've already found success. This constant push to break barriers shows up in the search for meaning beyond what's tangible. When someone achieves what they thought would bring satisfaction, they soon feel the need to chase the next goal. Happiness becomes a moving target, where every accomplishment is just the starting point for another journey. You can see this in sports, where top athletes, even after winning gold medals, keep training to beat their own records. The thirst for the limitless is part of who we are, shaping how we see ourselves and our place in the world. Behind this desire to reach the infinite lies a longing for something deeper, a connection to what goes beyond everyday life. Many people turn to religion, philosophy, or meditation practices in search of answers, trying to understand what would truly satisfy this need for expansion. It's not just about wanting more things or material success, but about feeling whole and complete. Ultimately, the search is for an experience that makes every moment worthwhile, that brings a sense of belonging to something bigger. But if this drive for the limitless is so strong, what comes next? When we look at Maslow's famous hierarchy of needs, it's clear that it doesn't stop at self-actualization anymore. Today, it's understood that there's another level, self-transcendence. This is when a person seeks to go beyond their own limits, wanting to contribute to something greater than themselves. It doesn't mean giving up personal desires, but finding ways to connect those aspirations to a larger purpose. For instance, an artist who aims not just to create for themselves, but to inspire and impact society, is practicing this self-transcendence. This new level of need shows up in different areas of life. People who've already reached what many would call success often talk about feeling a void, a lack of purpose, even when they have everything they thought was important. That's where self-transcendence comes in, the need to go beyond yourself, to push past the limits of personal achievement and make a meaningful contribution to the world. It's not just about doing something big. It's about finding a sense of meaning that goes beyond me. Anyone who's ever volunteered or mentored others, for example, can see the impact of this kind of pursuit. Self-transcendence involves questioning and redefining your goals, viewing personal growth as a tool for something bigger. Instead of just chasing individual goals, the focus shifts to the impact those accomplishments can have on others. When someone decides to share their knowledge, guide others on their journeys, or dedicate themselves to causes that benefit the greater good, they're reaching this level of awareness. Which brings us to the next question. If it's not just about achieving personal success, what's the real purpose behind the human quest? For humans, life is about much more than just physical survival. While it's important to meet basic needs, what truly gives life a deeper sense of purpose is the pursuit of transcendence. Unlike other species that live focused on survival, people have the privilege, and in some ways, the responsibility to seek something more meaningful. This difference explains why, even when all our physical needs are met, we still feel driven to keep growing and expanding. This growth can take the form of a constant desire to learn, spiritual evolution, or even social impact. Transcendence means going beyond your immediate desires and instincts to explore deeper dimensions of the human experience. Instead of just ensuring safety and comfort, we crave meaning. For example, someone who's reached the top of their career might start looking for ways to give more purpose to their life, whether through creative projects, meditation, or even helping out communities in need. The search for transcendence is an internal journey that goes beyond material goals and invites us to discover what truly makes life feel complete. The paradox is that while the body needs care and protection, the mind and spirit yearn for freedom and expansion. This duality between surviving and transcending creates a unique tension, which can either fuel great achievements or, if not properly channeled, lead to frustration. So the real question isn't just about how to survive, but how to live in a way that makes the very act of existing a rich and meaningful experience. If survival is just the beginning, what's stopping us from diving into something much greater? The feeling of individuality is one of the big illusions shaping human experience. Even though we see ourselves as separate beings, in reality, we're all part of a larger, interconnected web. It's like the waves in the ocean. They seem independent, but they're all part of the same sea. This sense of separation is largely psychological, built by the stories we tell ourselves about who we are and where we belong. In truth, life operates in interdependence. The air we breathe, the food we eat, and even the ideas we entertain come from outside of us. This illusion of separation can lead to a life focused on me, with a constant drive to protect and boost one's own ego. However, as we expand our awareness and understand the interconnectedness of everything, a new perspective emerges. When you help someone else, you're not just making their life better. You're also improving your own, because we all share the same life force. The idea that I am one and the other is separate fades when we realize that the effects of our actions ripple through the whole. Recognizing this deep connection with life can change how we interact with the world. Instead of seeing others as adversaries or competitors, we start to see them as parts of the same whole, where collaboration can create much more than rivalry ever could. This shift in perspective can be the starting point for a richer, more harmonious life. But if individuality is just an illusion, what are the walls we've built to shield ourselves from this truth? The boundaries we create to protect ourselves often turn into invisible prisons. In trying to shield ourselves from pain and frustration, we build walls that end up isolating not just the problems, but also the opportunities for growth. These walls are built from limiting beliefs, fears, and even past experiences that have left their mark. For example, someone who was betrayed in a relationship might create emotional barriers that not only block out pain, but also prevent the possibility of finding new love. As these walls grow higher and thicker, what was supposed to be protection turns into limitation. Instead of setting us free, they restrict us, blocking the natural flow of life. It's like living in a house with all the windows closed, where the air becomes stale and the view of the outside world is lost. When you limit yourself to what's safe and familiar, you miss out on exploring new experiences and learning from the unknown. This overprotective mindset is often a response to the fear of failure or rejection. However, recognizing that these walls exist is the first step to tearing them down. Practices like self-awareness, meditation, and yoga help us see what's a real barrier and what's just a mental construct. When you start questioning your own limitations, you begin to understand that real growth happens outside the comfort zone. If the barriers that trap us can be broken, what's stopping us from expanding our awareness? True human growth is achieved when consciousness expands beyond the limitations of the physical and psychological self. Instead of seeing yourself as an isolated being, you can feel like part of a bigger whole, deeply connected to the life around you. This shift in perspective isn't just a philosophical idea. It's a practice that changes the way we relate to others in the world. For example, by adopting a mindset of genuine compassion, a person starts to see that the suffering of others is also their own, breaking the illusion of separation. This inclusiveness is a conscious choice to see beyond the barriers created by the mind. By cultivating this mindset, you become less reactive and more responsive, handling life's challenges with greater balance. Imagine facing a conflict at work. Instead of locking yourself into your own perspective, you could try to understand the viewpoints of others involved, leading to more harmonious and collaborative solutions. Expanding your awareness brings the ability to include and consider, rather than exclude and judge. This practice of inclusion goes beyond personal relationships. It's a way of living more present and connected with the universe. When awareness expands, the sense of belonging grows, creating a deeper sense of purpose. The idea that we're just individuals starts to fade, and the experience of being part of the flow of life becomes more real. So how can we transcend the limitations that still keep us tied to the old way of seeing the world? Breaking the barriers that hold us back requires practices that go beyond just intellectual understanding. It's about involving the body and mind in processes that transcend everyday logic. Yoga, for example, isn't just a physical exercise, but a practice aimed at uniting body, mind, and spirit, helping dissolve the boundaries we've created between ourselves and the world. By doing postures, breathing consciously, and meditating, a person starts to see that many of their limitations are self-imposed and can be overcome with a cultivation of presence and self-awareness. Transcending barriers isn't limited to formal practices. Small changes in daily life can also contribute to this liberation. Something as simple as walking barefoot in nature or practicing a few minutes of silence every day can deepen your connection with the environment and yourself. These practices help break down the rigidity of the self and allow life to flow more freely. Gradually, you start to realize that what kept you separate from the limitless were just mental barriers like biases, fears, or the need for control. Transcending goes beyond dropping old habits. It's about transforming your own perception of what's possible. Freedom arises when we give ourselves permission to experience life without self-imposed limitations, exploring new ways of being in the world. What happens when we stop seeing ourselves as limited beings? Perhaps the answer lies in understanding the role that consciousness plays in shaping our experiences. When consciousness becomes the center of the human experience, life takes on a meaning that goes beyond physical sensations and fleeting emotions. It's like shifting from a foggy view to crystal clear clarity, where every moment is lived fully and consciously. Instead of reacting impulsively to events, you start to respond more thoughtfully, with a deeper understanding of what's happening around you. Consciousness teaches us to distinguish what truly matters from what's just a passing distraction. The role of consciousness shows up in the small daily choices, like how you deal with challenges or even how you relate to others. When someone can maintain a state of mindful presence, it's possible to notice nuances in situations that previously went unnoticed. For example, in a difficult conversation, staying fully attentive allows you to pick up on what's not being said, such as the tone of voice or body language, offering a deeper understanding of what the other person is really communicating. This level of awareness transforms the quality of interactions and leads to a more connected life. But the real power of consciousness goes beyond the everyday. It's in making us question the reality we've built and inviting us to shape it according to a higher purpose. When consciousness takes the lead, the focus shifts from immediate needs to the search for meaning, opening doors to richer and more transformative experiences. If consciousness can bring about such profound change, why do we often act in an exclusive way, limiting our potential for inclusion? Humans are biologically wired to be inclusive, but psychologically, we tend to act in exclusive ways. Even though we all share the same life force and rely on the same resources to survive, our behavior often reflects a need for distinction and separation. You can see this in everyday situations, like how people identify with certain social groups, opinions, or even brands, creating a sense of belonging that shuts out what's different. True freedom, though, comes when you learn to include others as a part of yourself. Practicing inclusion is an exercise in expanding your awareness, where we becomes more important than me. Small actions can show this mindset. Actively listening to others, practicing empathy, or looking for ways to collaborate instead of compete. For instance, in the workplace, including everyone's ideas in a discussion leads to more innovative and balanced solutions. This approach not only improves relationships but also expands the capacity for personal and collective growth, breaking away from the exclusive mindset that limits human potential. This tendency to act exclusively can be overcome by recognizing that interconnectedness is an unavoidable fact of life. When you realize that everyone is part of the same flow, acting inclusively becomes a natural path to living more fully. This shift in mindset can lead to a life richer in meaning, with fewer internal and external conflicts. But if life is a continuous cycle, what does that say about the cyclical nature of our existence? Life operates in continuous cycles, and everything in the universe follows this cyclical nature. From the changing seasons to our own biological processes, everything is interconnected in a flow that never stops. This cyclic movement reflects the interconnection of all aspects of existence and reminds us that life isn't a straight line but a dynamic circle. Experiences repeat in patterns, and by recognizing this repetition, you gain opportunity to learn from the cycles instead of just being carried along by them. Awareness of this movement helps you realize that, in many ways, you're coming back to the same points but with new perspectives. This cyclical view can be used to understand life's ups and downs. Just like day always follows night, tough times are followed by phases of renewal and growth. When you understand that cycles are a natural part of existence, you can find peace in the middle of difficulties, knowing that everything is temporary and that each cycle brings a new chance for growth. For example, when facing a personal crisis, you can see it as a necessary phase for a bigger transformation, rather than just a setback. Understanding these cycles helps you face challenges with more resilience. The cyclical nature of life also invites us to let go of individualistic barriers, realizing that being part of the cycle is inevitable. Growth happens not when we resist the flow, but when we learn to move with it. This leads us to question what it really means to be free, and whether true freedom is found in fighting against the cycles or in learning to dance with them. After all, if everything is part of a big cycle, how can we break free and live more consciously? Ready to put what you've learned into action? Break down your barriers and free yourself from limitations. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and keep following this journey. And don't miss our latest video. Listen to this and fall in love with your life again. Sadhguru reveals the secret. This is just the beginning.